I wanted to say thank you to Senator Winfield, vice chairs, ranking members, and all the members of the Judicial Committee. My name is Christina Bennett, and I'm testifying on behalf of the Family Institute of Connecticut, and I'm here to express my strong opposition to HB 5414. This legislation is not in the best interest of pregnant women seeking abortions. This is all about protecting abortion providers who have broken the laws of the state that they are currently in. And even if those laws are not upheld in our state of Connecticut, the fact that medical professionals could choose to disregard their state law is very concerning. And what interest do we have as a state of Connecticut in protecting abortion providers who are breaking laws in other states? Because they could come here to Connecticut and they could break other laws in our state, and there could be a precedent for that because we've protected them in order to come here. Would this or could this legislation enable them to come here to Connecticut, botch abortions without fear of consequence, perform abortions beyond the allowed gestational age, or even maybe not report abortions on minors who are being coerced into abortions? I believe this legislation, if passed, could harm those who are seeking abortions, putting them at a greater risk for physical and emotional harm. This legislation stems from a false belief that our laws in Connecticut on abortion are superior to other states, and therefore our laws should be the standards. But we don't even have parental notification. The majority of states across the entire country require a minor to notify their parents if they're having an abortion. In Connecticut, a minor has to notify their parents if they're going to get a tan. A minor has to notify their parents if they're going to get a tattoo or a piercing, but they don't even have to tell them if they're going to get a surgical abortion. But yet we think that our abortion laws in Connecticut are superior and other states should follow our example. And that is not true. We're not doing the best job when it comes to abortion laws and protecting pregnant women and their safety. The legislators in Texas or Mississippi or any other state, they are doing their best job to serve their women and their families. And we should be able to respect the laws of that particular state. And I've heard a lot of things today that simply are not true. There is not a public health emergency. There's not an influx of women from Texas coming to Connecticut to get abortions. One thing that's not been mentioned at all today is that over 40% of abortions are done by the abortion pill. And that is becoming the fastest growing way in which women are doing abortion. And the FDA has removed regulations on the abortion pill, allowing that to be sent through the mail permanently. So why are we thinking there's going to be a huge influx of women coming to fly in from Texas to Connecticut to get an abortion when we're seeing that the fastest growing way for getting abortions is the abortion pill? And also there's so many other states that women could go to that are closer to Texas than coming all the way to Connecticut. So there is no public health emergency. And the idea that we're trying to fight so hard to protect abortion providers in Connecticut, well, there are 3 pending lawsuits against abortion providers in Connecticut. If you look online, there are 3 pending lawsuits right now against Planned Parenthood of Southern New England. But we're not interested. I haven't seen legislation that's protecting the women who've been hurt by abortion providers. One of them being my own mother, which is why I do the work that I do, because she was abused by an abortion provider in Connecticut in Hartford who yelled at her when she said she didn't want to abort me. And she changed her mind because a janitor talked to her. He screamed at her and said, "Don't leave this room." And she ran out, and the janitor saved my life, thank God. But there are other women who've had botched abortions, and we're more interested in protecting providers from other states and here than we are protecting women in our own state who are suffering from botched abortions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments from the committee? Okay, Representative Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Bennett, for your testimony. I've been listening all day, and you certainly caught my attention with what you had to say. It's a lot different from anything I've heard said here today. And I thank God that your mom ran out and that you made it here. Yes,
Thank you.
Made it here. Just a brief question. You talked about the work that you do. You know, your story, your testimony is the reason why you do this work. Could you just tell me what is the work that you're doing in Connecticut?
Sure. I graduated from Southern Connecticut State University in 2005. And at that point is when I found out that my mom was coerced into abortion when she was younger and that she walked out of the appointment, like I just mentioned. And when I found that out, I decided that for the rest of my life, and now I'm 40, so it's been 17 plus years, that I would help pregnant women who were being coerced into abortions like my mom. And so I've done various things. For 4 years, I worked as a client service manager at the ABC Women's Pregnancy Center in Middletown, Connecticut. And I helped pregnant women. I helped them with choosing adoption, with parenting, educational classes. I worked for the Family Institute of Connecticut, and I helped fight against some of the horrible legislation that Connecticut has unfortunately passed targeting pregnancy centers. They passed legislation accusing all pregnancy centers of false advertising. And I have to say that in 4 years of public hearing, not one single woman came forward to say that she was an actual client of a pregnancy center and that she was abused or hurt by false advertising. The only people who came forward were spies from NARAL Pro-Choice Connecticut and Yale students and abortion activists. So I worked fighting against this legislation that tragically has passed in Connecticut, but we're still fighting that. And now I work in I just adopted my son from foster care, so so I'm mostly at home now. Thank you. I just became a new mom, and we adopted him at the beginning of the pandemic, and that was a really beautiful experience. So honestly, mostly I'm at home taking care of my 2-year-old. We had him since he was like 7 days old, and his mom placed him into foster care, which is really important. And I am grateful for the services that this state does when it comes to that. But I also travel across the country, and I speak at pregnancy banquets, and I help women. Just last week, someone called me from Queens, and they were like, there's a girl who's being coerced into having an abortion. She's being pressured. Can you help her? And I was just on the phone, making phone calls, sending emails, and I found a pregnancy center for her in Jamaica, Queens, and I connected her, and, there you go. So that's the kind of work that I do. And I want to speak today for the women who are not being heard. And I've had women come to me. I have a girl who I can connect to, anyone who wants to hear her story. She's 20-something years old, and she had an abortion pill in Connecticut here, and it caused her to lose her fertility. It was a botched just from the pill. She couldn't walk. She was in the emergency room. She lost her fertility, and her parents tried to sue Planned Parenthood, and they didn't have the resources or the time to do it, so they just dropped it. And she came to me like, can you just please help me tell my story? So it really frustrates me that we're working so hard to protect abortion providers in Texas. Well, abortion providers in Connecticut have lawsuits pending against them. We're looking the other way when they botch abortions, all the way since, like I said, 1981, when my mom was yelled at by an abortion provider who screamed at her and told her, don't leave this room. Right. So I get it. Connecticut's a pro-choice state. We've codified Roe versus Wade into state law. That's not changing anytime soon. I understand those dynamics, but this is aggressive. This is radical. This is about politics. This is about putting politics over women's health. The majority of women who get abortions, tragically, are African-American women, and it's not because we just want to have abortions more than anybody else, but because we've been targeted by the abortion industry. That's why we're 3 times more likely to get abortions. In addition to that, over 70% of the abortions in Connecticut are done from women that are on Medicaid. So these are vulnerable women, women that are low income, women that are on Medicaid, women that are receiving services. And we want to protect some doctors that come from Texas possibly to come here. And who knows if they're willing to break a law in Texas, what if they've broken other laws? And I know someone said today that we could still prosecute them, but will we still prosecute them when we're not really prosecuting the abortion providers here who botched abortion? I doubt that they will be prosecuted. So I think this is really about making Connecticut some kind of abortion sanctuary state so we can protect all sorts of shady abortion doctors at the cost of women's health and safety. And I want to speak for the Black, the brown, the women who are having abortions. I want to speak for them because this is putting them at risk. This is not protecting their health.
I appreciate that. Like I said, I find it really interesting. Of course, now we have these bills before us. I'm actually getting calls and people are reaching out to me around what we're doing. And the majority of them look like you and I. And I may have missed someone, but you're the first one that I've seen.
I'm the first one here.
Right, to speak on one of these bills. So that's why you caught my attention, and I was listening more intently. I was listening intently to all of them, but you really did validate some of the things that have been said to me in conversation, and one that really resonates, and to be quite honest with you, I hadn't really thought about it, is that, when you talk about women of color and Black women in particular, they're not getting abortions necessarily because they want to. It's because they can't afford a baby or they're being coerced. And that had never really, can't afford, I understand, but the coercion part is something that I'm learning more about. So I really do appreciate you using this platform to educate us on the other side of this story and from a different perspective. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best in the work that you're doing. And,
thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ms. Bennett. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity.
Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Bennett, for your testimony. I really have been sitting here listening all day, and like my good colleague just said, your testimony kind of really reached out to me, and so not all things fit all people, and the fact that you're out there working, trying to help women who may have another choice, and besides the abortion route. God bless you, and congratulations on your baby.
Thank you.
Wonderful news, and I just went on the website. I found out where you are. I will reach out and
Please.
love to support you and your efforts in what you're doing for the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, you don't look 40. And second of all, where do you get all your energy having a 2-year-old? I have no idea. But thank you for your passion, especially, as someone who tried to at least get a discussion on the parental notification. But Connecticut is strongly a choice state, and you said you accept that. But your passion is really, and I want to be associated with the remarks of Representative Porter and Representative O'Day, but you really brought a unique perspective that we don't hear a lot. And I appreciate your patience and your advocacy. It means a lot. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. And I would say, please continue fighting for parental notification. That is a common sense law that the majority of states do have. So please continue fighting for it.
Well, thank you for the encouragement.
I know it's an uphill battle, but.
Representative Veach.
Good. Thank you. I just wanted to mirror what my colleagues have said. Thank you for coming out and sharing and doing everything that you're doing. It really is important, and it was nice to hear what you had to say, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations on your 2-year-old too. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
God bless.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Seeing none, ma'am, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you all.
Next up will be